Alrighty guys, welcome to the video here today for Friday, December 16th, 2022. And if you find yourself enjoying this video here today, please feel free to give it a thumbs up by smashing that like button. That would certainly mean the world to me if you went ahead and did that right now. It's literally the lifeblood of this channel. The more likes my channel gets, the more the channel has a chance of staying alive. So you really don't have any idea how important it is to hit that thumbs up button. And if you want to connect with me on a daily basis, please feel free to hit that subscribe button as well. I'd love to become friends with you and have you a part of the Brock Page Nation. And for those of you who don't already know, my name is Brock Page and I do sports picks for free right here on YouTube. Actually been doing it since 2016. Now, if you want to see which one of these free picks on my channel that I'm actually betting on personally, you may want to think about signing up for a membership on my website. More specifically, you may want to think about signing up for my college basketball tier membership on my website. It gives you a minimum of 3 college basketball plays a week for the next 30 days. And as an added bonus, guys, you're also going to get access to all of my cheaper memberships absolutely free. That means you're going to get access to the college basketball membership, NBA package, college football package, NFL package, crowd pleaser teaser membership, underdog bets, daily poll access, extra daily bet, and my daily best play absolutely free. You're going to get access to all of those memberships. Now, we don't do plays every single day in all of those. You're not getting 9 to 10 personal bets a day, but you do get access to all of those memberships. They will be included with your purchase of the college basketball tier. And of course, I have over 560 members who are signed up and active on that site right now. And unfortunately, I forgot to do my shout outs. Forgot to write them down. But anyway, let's get into some free content. College football, Miami, Ohio, taking on UAB. That's the Bahamas Bowl at 11:30 a.m. East. UAB's minus 10.5, totals 45. And even though the Bladers' starting running back is doubtful to play here today, it's been their defense who really rose to the challenge this season, and more specifically, their secondary. These guys are a top 25 passing defense, and they're led by Noah Wilder, who has 100 tackles on the season. They're facing a Miami squad who's little threat throwing the football. As a matter of fact, these guys threw for just 165 yards a game this season. And no real surprise here, guys. The Red Hawks are in the bottom 10 in the entire country in total yards per game. Now, total-wise, 2 out of Miami's last 3 did get over the number. Meanwhile, UAB saw their last 4 straight get over the total themselves. I'm going to lean toward UAB, minus 10.5, over 45. Next matchup, it is going to be UTSA, Troy, Cure Bowl at 3. UTSA's minus 1.5, totals 56. And even though UTSA did a nice job moving the football this year, they're one of the best defenses in the. They're facing one of the best defenses in the country in Troy. Troy's really good on defense. They allowed just 17 points a game this year. That's 8th lowest in all of college football. TJ Jackson and Richard Jabuner, they've combined for 14 sacks between the both of them. And for those who don't know, Troy finished the season winners of their last 10 straight. They're facing an UTSA team who's one of the worst. They have one of the worst secondaries in the country. These guys are 101st in passing defense. They also may have to go to work here with a couple of offensive guys. They're banged up a little bit. Smith, Brady, and Sharp, they're all questionable for the Roadrunners. Now, total-wise, the Roadrunners did see overs against the likes of North Texas, UTEP, and UAB. Meanwhile, Troy saw their last 3 straight get over the total themselves. I'm going to lean toward Troy, plus 1.5, over 56. NBA action, Hawks, Hornets, 7 o'clock East. Charlotte's minus 2, totals 237.5. And even though Charlotte's favored by a bucket, they are in the heart of a 6-game losing streak. They've been pretty bad this year in their own building. Out of 14 home games this year, the Hornets got the dub in just 28% of those contests. Now, it looks like Charlotte's biggest problem this year has been their offensive shooting. They're making only 31% of their three-pointers at home, and they have the lowest home field goal percentage in the NBA. Now they're facing an Atlanta team who's in the top 10 in the league in guarding the three-pointer themselves. The Hawks are also giving up fewer second-quarter points than most clubs in the Eastern Conference. Now offensively, Trae Young's the team's leading scorer with 26 points a game. Meanwhile, DeAndre Hunter is averaging 15.5 points a night himself. When it comes to the injury report, Capella, Murray, and Collins are out for the Hawks. Meanwhile, for Charlotte, Smith, Williams, and Martin are out. Hayward is questionable with the shoulder. When it comes to the total, Charlotte saw 6 out of their last 8 get over the number. Meanwhile, Atlanta 73% to the over in all of their road games. I'm going to lean toward Atlanta +2 over 237.5. Next ball game, it is going to be Kings at the Pistons, 7 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Sacramento's -5, totals 237. Now, the Kings are one of the best scoring teams in the game right now. They're in the top 3 in points per contest, and they're covering in 60% of their road games. De'Aaron Fox, he leads the scoring with 22.5 points a game. Meanwhile, Domantas Sabonis, he's averaging nearly a dozen rebounds a night, and he actually ranks in the top 5 in the league in that category. Now, when it comes to grabbing boards, the Kings are one of the best defensive rebounding teams in the West. They're facing a Detroit squad who's amongst the worst rebounding teams in the entire league. And when it comes to defensive play, the Pistons actually have the highest defensive field goal percentage at home in the NBA. They're letting their opponents make nearly 50% of their field goals against them in the Little Caesars Arena. Now, injury-wise, Livers is out. Bagley is questionable. Meanwhile, for Sacramento on the other side, Len is out. Herter's questionable for them. When it comes to the total in this one, the Kings saw overs against the likes of Toronto, Milwaukee, and Indiana. Meanwhile, the Pistons on the other side, they are 9-4 to the over in Detroit. I'm going to lean towards Sacramento -5 over 237. Next ball game, it is going to be Nets taking on the Raptors. That'll be a 7:30 Eastern start time. Brooklyn's the 2-point favorite, totals 226. Now, the Red Hot Nets are on a 4-game winning streak, and they've lost just 1 game since November 25th. When it comes to shooting the basketball, not many teams do it better than Brooklyn. These guys are in the top 3 in offensive field goal percentage. Kevin Durant's averaging 30 points a game, along with 6 rebounds, 5 assists. Meanwhile, Kyrie Irving's dropping over 25 points a game himself. When it comes to defensive play, the Nets have the 3rd lowest defensive field goal percentage at home in the league. They're facing a Toronto team who has a tough time shooting from the field themselves. These guys are in the bottom 3 in offensive field goal percentage in their own arena. They also lost 6 out of their last 8, and they rank amongst the worst in the East in shooting from 3-land. Now, injury-wise, Anunoby, Porter, Achua, they're all listed as out. Meanwhile, for Brooklyn, Mills and Curry are questionable. When it comes to the total in this one, Brooklyn went 6-3 to the under in their last 9. Meanwhile, Toronto saw unders against the likes of Orlando, Boston, and this very Brooklyn team. I'm going to lean toward the Nets -2, under 226. Next matchup, it is going to be Warriors at the 76ers, and that'll be a 7:30 Eastern tip-off. Philadelphia is the 8-point favorite at home, totals 224. Now, the Sixers won their last 3 straight, and they've done a nice job covering at home. They're 11-4 against the spread in the Wells Fargo Center, and they're making nearly 40% of their three-pointers there. Tobias Harris, he's drilling nearly 41% of his long-range shots. Meanwhile, Joel Embiid, he leads the squad with 33 points a game. Now, they're facing a Golden State team who allows more points a game on the road than any other team in the league. They're also giving up what are they giving up? They're giving up a league-worst 123 points a game while traveling. Now, injury-wise, Green is questionable. Curry and Wiggins are out. Meanwhile, for Philadelphia, they're mostly healthy for the exception of Tyrese Maxey. Now, total-wise, Philly's 60% to the under in the Wells Fargo Center. Meanwhile, Golden State saw 4 out of their last 7 stay under the line themselves. I'm going to lean toward the Sixers -8, under 224. Next contest, it is going to be Pacers at the Cavaliers, 7:30 p.m. East. Cleveland's the 7.5-point favorite. Totals 225. Now, Cleveland plays some of the best defense in the association. They're allowing a league-low 103 points a game at home. No real surprise here, guys. The Cavs allow fewer fourth-quarter points than any other team in the league. Now, offensively, Donovan Mitchell, he's scoring over 29 points a night. He's making 42% of his three-pointers. Meanwhile, Jared Allen's grabbing double-digit rebounds a game. They're facing an Indy team on the other side who's in the bottom 5 in defensive boards. They're also allowing over 117 points a game when they travel. Now, injury-wise, Tice, Duarte, and Brown are out. Meanwhile, for Cleveland, Wade, Windler, and Rubio are out for them. When it comes to the total, Cleveland's gone 9-5 to the under at the Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. Meanwhile, for Indiana, they are 64% to the under while traveling. I'm going to lean toward Cleveland, -7.5, under 225. Next game, Magic Celtics, 7:30 Eastern tip-off. Boston's the 13-point favorite, totals 228. And even though the Celtics are great, I do have concerns about this high number. For one, Boston failed to cover in their last 3 straight. Number 2, they don't play great defense. These guys allow 115 points a game at home. They're also letting their opponents make 48% of their field goals against them in the Garden. Now they're facing an Orlando team who's in the top 10 in the league in fourth quarter scoring. And the reason why I say that, the reason why I'm so specific with that is that back door is typically always wide open. These guys continue to score late in games, even when they're down by a bunch of points. And I'll tell you this much, more recently, the Magic's on a 4-game winning streak, believe it or not, and they covered the point spread in 7 out of their last 9. This is not a helpless team if you're backing them. Once again, it's all about the point spread, and these guys have been covering the number. Now, Paolo Banchero, he's averaging over 21.5 points a game, along with 6 boards, 3 assists. Meanwhile, Franz Wagner, he's scoring just about 20 points a night himself. When it comes to rebounding the basketball, Orlando's in the top 3 in the league in defensive boards. Now, injury-wise, Harris, Okike, and Suggs are out. Isaac and Carter are still inactive as well. Meanwhile, for Boston, Horford and Williams are questionable. Gallinari's out. When it comes to the total in this one, Boston's a staggering 11-2 to the over at the Garden this year. Meanwhile, Orlando saw overs against the likes of the Hawks, Clippers, and Raptors. I'm going to lean toward Orlando plus 13, keeping this one close, over 228. Next matchup, it is going to be Timberwolves squaring off against the Thunder. And that'll be an 8 o'clock Eastern start time. OKC's -2.5 at home, totals 231.5. And even though this is a short number, you got to consider the fact that OKC covered in 7 out of their last 10. They're also in the top 10 in the league in home scoring. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's averaging 31 points a game. He's making over 93% of his free throws. Josh Giddey's also scoring over 14.5 points a night himself. They're facing a banged-up Minnesota team who failed to cover in 7 out of their last 10. They're also having a tough time on defense. The T-Wolves allow over 116 points a game, and they're in the bottom 3 in guarding the three-pointer. Now, injury-wise, Gobert and Russell are questionable. Towns, Prince, and McLaughlin are still out. Meanwhile, for Oklahoma City, Williams, Robinson Earl, and Deng are out for them. When it comes to the total, OKC saw 75% of their contests at the Paycom Center get over the total. Meanwhile, Minnesota saw overs against the likes of Portland, Washington, and this very OKC team. I'm going to lean toward Oklahoma City -2.5, over 231.5. Next ball game, it is going to be Knicks at the Bulls, 8 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Chicago's the 3-point favorite at home, totals 226.5. The Bulls did lose 5 out of their last 7, though, and they covered the number only 2 times during that stretch I just mentioned. They're also having a tough time on defense in certain spots. They're in the bottom 10 in guarding the three-pointer, and they're allowing more first-quarter points at home than most clubs in the East. They're facing a red-hot Knicks team who won their last 5 straight. They covered the point spread in 7 out of their last 8. Now, New York's also been dominant defensively away from the Big Apple. They have the lowest defensive field goal percentage on the road in the NBA. When it comes to offensive production, Julius Randle scoring over 22.5 points a game, along with 8 rebounds. Meanwhile, Jalen Brunson scoring 20 points a night himself. Now, injury-wise, Toppin's still out. Arcidiacono's questionable. Meanwhile, for Chicago, Ball's out. Dosunmu's questionable for them. Comes to the total, Chicago is 9-4 to the under in the United Center this year. Meanwhile, New York's gone 64% to the under in their travels. I'm going to lean toward the Knicks +3, under 226.5. Next contest, Blazers Mavericks, 8:30 p.m. East. Dallas is -4, totals 225. And in addition to failing to cover in their last 4 straight, the Mavs are a little banged up right now. Kleba and Green are out. Davis Bertans is questionable. When it comes to rebounding the basketball, no one's worse offensively than Dallas. These guys are currently dead last in offensive boards per game. Now, they're facing a Portland squad who's one of the better defensive rebounding teams in the league. They're also in the top 5 in fewest points allowed on the road. Now, when it comes to offensive production, Dame Lillard is scoring over 28.5 points a game, along with 7 assists. Now, Dame's also attempting 11 three-pointers a game, and he's knocking home 40% of those. Anthony Simons is also scoring over 23.5 points a night himself. Now, when it comes to the injury report, Payton and Little are out for Portland. Meanwhile, for Dallas, once again, Bertans is questionable. Kleba and Green are out. When it comes to the total, Dallas saw unders recently against the likes of Cleveland, Milwaukee, and New York. Meanwhile, Portland went 60% to the under while traveling. I'm going to lean toward the Trailblazers +4, under 225. And with that, we're going to jump into our next and final matchup for the video. It is going to be Nuggets at the Lakers. And that'll be a 10 o'clock Eastern start time. Denver's the 1-point favorite, totals 236. The Nugs are on a 3-game winning streak, and they're the most efficient shooting team in the game. Denver's currently leading the league in offensive field goal percentage and shooting the three-pointer. Bones Highland, he's making over 44% of his shots from beyond the arc. Nikola Jokic is averaging over 24.5 points a night himself. They're facing a Laker team who lost 4 out of their last 5. And they allow 117 points a game. Now, equally as bad, the Lakers are second to last in the NBA in defensive rebounding. When it comes to the injury report, Toscano Anderson and Gabriel are still out. Meanwhile, for Denver, Porter and Gillespie are out for them. When it comes to the total, Denver's 10-6 of the over as the official road team. Meanwhile, the Lakers are 62% to the over in the Crypto Center. I'm going to lean toward Denver -1 over 236. And with that, we're going to jump into a couple college basketball games. We'll start off with Xavier taking on Georgetown, 6:30 p.m. East. Xavier's -11.5, totals 156 and a hook. Now, Xavier's been real lights out from the field this season. They're in the top 10 in offensive field goal percentage. They're making 41% of their three-pointers. Sully Boom is making a team best, he's scoring a team best 17 points a game. And he's drilling over 51% of his three balls. Meanwhile, Jack Nunge, he's making 41% of his three-pointers. He's also scoring over 15 points a game. Now, as a team, the Musketeers won their last 4 straight, and they're averaging over 83 points per contest. They're facing a Georgetown team who gives up just way too many points. They're allowing nearly 75 points a game. They're one of the worst defensive rebounding teams in the Big East. Now, total-wise, Georgetown saw 3 out of their last 4 get over the line. Meanwhile, Xavier's 82% to the over for the entire season. I'm going to lean towards Xavier, -11.5, over 156 and a hook. Next matchup, another Big East game here. I'm talking about Creighton squaring off against Marquette, 8:30 p.m. East. Now, Marquette's -3.5, totals 153. Marquette's doing a nice job getting to the basket. They're averaging over 82 points per contest, and they're in the top 25 in shooting from the field. David Joplin's draining 46% of his three balls, double-digit points a game for the forward as well. Meanwhile, Cam Jones, he's averaging a team-best 16 points a night. They're facing a Creighton team who has one of the higher defensive field goal percentages in the Big East. And most concerning, guys, the Blue Jays took the loss in their last 5 straight. They allowed 72 points or more in all of those losses. Now, injury-wise, big Ryan Kalkbrenner still questionable to play here tonight for Creighton. That is a big potential loss if he can't play. When it comes to the total, Creighton went 60% to the over in their last 10. Meanwhile, Marquette saw 4 out of their last 5 get over the line themselves. I'm going to lean toward Marquette, minus 3.5, over 153. And with that, we're going to jump into some NHL action. Short slate here tonight, but we're going to break down a couple of games here. We'll start off with the Blackhawks at the Wild, 8 o'clock Eastern puck drop. Now, Minnesota's the massive $4.30 favorite, total 6 goals. Marc-Andre Fleury for Minnesota, Peter Mrazek for Chicago. And even though Mrazek's having a down year, Blackhawks did cash in on the puck line in 50% of their road games this year. And believe it or not, guys, the Blackhawks are in the top 10 in the league in fewest third-period goals allowed on the road. Now, defensively, Jake McCabe's a +4 when he's on a shift. They're facing a Minnesota club who's just 5-11 against the number in their own building. They also find themselves in the bottom 10 in first-period goals allowed at home. Now, netminder Marc-Andre Fleury, he comes into today's contest with a goals against average in the threes, along with an .895 save percentage. When it comes to the total on this one, Minnesota is 63% to the over in front of their own fans. Meanwhile, Chicago saw overs against the likes of Washington, the Rangers, and Edmonton. I'm going to lean toward Chicago, +1.5, keeping that one close, over 6. And with our next and final breakdown for the video here today, it is going to be Islanders at the Coyotes, 9:30 Eastern start time. New York's the $1.80 favorite, total 6 goals. Ilya Sorokin for New York, Karel Vejmelka for Arizona. Now, Karel's won just half of his starts, and he has a goals against average in the threes. Meanwhile, as a team, the Coyotes dropped 7 out of their last 9, and they allow a league-worst 40 shots on goal a game on their own ice. They're facing an Isles team who loves to score late in games. These guys are in the top 10 in third period scoring. Brock Nelson has a team best 14 goals, 40 points for the center as well. Meanwhile, Matty Barzal has 30 points on the season himself. But the strength of this Islanders franchise has been their defensive play. Ilya Sorokin's got double-digit wins on the year, along with a .925 save percentage. When it comes to the injury report, Paul Mary, Pelech, and Beauvillier are questionable for the Isles. And when it comes to the total on this one, New York's gone 60% to the over on the road this year. Arizona saw overs on the other side against the likes of Philly, Boston, and Edmonton. I'm going to lean toward the New York Islanders, -180, over 6 goals. And with that, guys, we're going to jump into our quick pick recap, starting off in college football. I like UAB -10.5, over 45. Troy +1.5, over 56. And with that, we're going to jump into some NBA quick picks. I like Atlanta +2, over 237.5. Sacramento -5, over 237. Brooklyn -2, under 226. Philadelphia -8, under 224. Cleveland -7.5, under 225. Orlando +13, over 228. Oklahoma City -2.5, over 231.5. New York, the Knicks +3, under 226 and a hook. Portland Trailblazers +4, under 225. With my next and final NBA free pick. Real quick, if you're watching this on TikTok, please feel free to give me a follow right now. I'd love to connect with you on a daily basis. And if you would do so, please hit that like button. It's the heart. Just go ahead and punch that. You have no idea how much that helps out. You know, my TikTok channel allows more people to see me. But yeah, last pick, Denver -1, over 236. All right, next sport, college basketball. Give me Xavier minus 11.5 over 156 and a hook. Incarnate Word minus 1 under 134. USF South Florida minus 11.5 under 131 and a hook. St. Bonaventure minus 13. St. Bonnie's minus 3 under 134. Princeton minus 7 over 142. Manhattan minus 4 over 136. Wisconsin Green Bay plus 24.5 under 130 and a hook. Missouri State plus 8 over 145. Southern Illinois minus 14 under 133. Austin Peay plus 8 under 133.5. Youngstown State minus 8.5 over 153. Tulsa minus 20 under 136.5. Marquette minus 3.5 over 153. With my next and final college basketball pick, give me Cal Poly minus 4.5 under 128. With that, we're going to jump into some NHL action. Give me Chicago plus 1.5 over 6 goals. Calgary minus 1.5 over 6. With my next and final free pick, I like the Islanders minus 180 over 6 goals.